Welcome to CastAways, where we share stories from the people who made the magic. And today we have a return customer here who made the magic over at Universal for 5 years. That's a really long time. Annie, welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited to talk Universal with you because last episode, we got to hear all of your tales from MGM Studios back in the day over at Disney. But Universal, so you had done two of the Disney college programs, but 10 years apart, which I didn't even know you could do, but I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. So when you were in Orlando and you were wanting to maybe transfer to a different park or do some other work with Disney, what made you decide to apply and get a job with Universal?
Actually, it just kind of ended up that way. My job at Disney wasn't giving me enough hours, so I left that for SeaWorld, which then was a 6 months on, 6 months off type of job. So
Oh.
when the 6 months off was coming up, I applied for a seasonal position at Universal for Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh,
And
okay. So is
yeah,
that where your
yeah.
love of all things Universal began?
I think so. I maybe not even there. I think it eventually started when I got a spot at Islands of Adventure at High in the Sky
Oh,
Seuss Trolley train ride. Yeah, when I got the job for Halloween Horror Nights, it was almost just like I needed a job type of thing.
okay.
And I had never been to Universal. I had been like
What?
once in the 90s. Yeah, I had been like once in the 90s. I remembered riding ET and I remembered going through the
Yes.
Nickelodeon set and seeing some of that stuff, but
Oh, yes.
I yeah, so when I got the job, I actually the first time like the training was back of house. So I hadn't even been in the park yet. And when they take you out into the park during training for the first time, you kind of walk out right where King's Cross is, and the first thing I
Yes.
saw was Krusty Land across the water. And I was like, I know, but my reaction was, what have I been missing all this time? Because I was raised Disney, and I just thought it looked so gorgeous. I don't know if it was like the sunrise was coming up and hitting it, and just the way I'm not even a Simpsons person, but just the colors and the view of Krusty Land right there, that was like the selling point of like maybe Universal has something that I didn't know ever existed.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, there's me in
Well,
Krusty Land here.
that is definitely true. They have a lot of things that, you would never know or is there if you don't go because Krusty Land, I mean, that took over Back to the Future, which some people would say was a better better
See,
ride
and
system.
that's yeah, but I never got to experience that. So, for me, just that view and thinking, we love theme parks. And just seeing
Yes.
the theming of something like Krusty Land, just that was the first impression I had. It just sold me that there's there's a whole nother theme park world out there besides Disney. And I didn't know. So I'm like, okay, well, now I'm a little bit impressed. And they send you around the park a little bit for your training and stuff. So you go around a little, and that was my first experience. But I started working shifts at Halloween Horror Nights, and I had not been to the park as a guest still. So
That's so funny. Well, I will have to tell you, I
strange.
have to tell my brother is a big Simpsons fan, like a huge Simpsons fan, grew up on it. And so the fact that that is what hooked you coming into Universal, I love it. So with the Halloween Horror Nights, what did you do? Were you a scare actor? Were you more like an attendant? What was your exact position there?
I was an attendant, so just in the house or outside, dealing with guests. So not a scare actor. And I just didn't know anything about Halloween Horror Nights at the time. Like, again, it was just at the time it was just getting a job to pay rent, So it wasn't like when I came down for the Disney College program, it was a passion for Disney,
Yes.
So looking at how Universal became my passion, but it wasn't at the start. It's so interesting how that played out. But I was a house attendant, and I got put in Alien versus Predator, which again, I didn't know anything about
Ooh.
IPs or originals, but being an IP house, it was good because I went home and I watched the movie Alien versus Predator to
Oh.
learn the house. Yeah. And it was
Uh-huh.
cool. The orientation, they gave you all these themed phrases to say to guests when you're dealing with them and things like that. And so it was kind of like, again, maybe Universal has so much theming that I didn't really realize that I was missing out on by constantly going to Disney. So, but I was a
For
house
sure.
attendant, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
did you have any really crazy experiences with the guests? Because I mean, some people get terrified going through there. They don't know what to expect, and they get in and they're like, like shocked. You know, they won't even move. And then other people think it's hilarious. I don't know. Have you had any kind of crazy experiences with the having to do with that?
Yeah, I did actually. It was a little bit traumatic for me because I
Oh
hate
no.
for yeah, no, I know. Yeah. Well, in the house, people are constantly moving and the scare actors are scaring them and stuff. And I'm
Hmm.
about in the middle of the house. And if anybody ever experienced the house, there was this area where you kind of went over this little bridge and there were the eggs hatching on each side. And there's kind of like an army
Oh.
guy or whatever, like yelling and stuff at people. Well, this girl who was 16, she was like crying, like couldn't move, was like frozen in fear and
Mm.
had to leave. And so like they're like, "Okay, you got to get her out." And I'm like, I mean, we've trained for this, but like also like on the spot, I'm like, "Okay, well, we got to go this way to go to the exit." Well, she doesn't want to go that way.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
like, okay, well, she wants to go back, and I think I actually probably panicked because she was panicking so bad, and I was like,
Mhm.
how do I get her to go? She doesn't want to go forward towards that exit, and I'm like, how
Mhm.
where to? And the scare actor guy just kind of came in and took her. I was like, oh, thank you so much because I panicked. I could not handle the pressure. I'm used to like keep moving, keep moving. I'm like, I'm not used to someone like having a meltdown and being like, I can't move. I'm like, I don't know what to
Yes.
do with you. So
Literally
yeah, so
paralyzed with fear, that's what they say, right?
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
"Pick her
yeah,
up, what do
and
we do?"
yeah,
And then the scare actor,
yeah.
was he in full makeup and everything?
Yes, yes, yes. He came in and took her and like pulled her out through one of the like this probably one of like the boo hole scare actor exits, like just to get her out like
Oh my
completely and
gosh.
quickly. Yeah, and I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm sorry. I failed. I failed the test. I don't know.
But you
Yeah.
you now, I mean, with your channel and everything, you probably are at Halloween Horror Nights every night now.
Yes, and it's so weird that like my start at Universal was Halloween Horror Nights, and that year, I was working, but our lead on the opening night, she gave us a pass that on our lunch we could go and like it was an express pass basically and skip the line at
Love
one
that.
house so we could go experience like at least one since we'd be working the event and not get to go. And so I chose to do Halloween because that's one of my favorite Halloween movies ever. So I did Halloween on my break and I was like terrified because I'm walking through by myself. I'm like, oh, I don't, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just want to
You feel
hold the
like you're in the
person in
movie.
front of me. Yeah. Yeah. And it was so good. And I did feel like I was in the movie and I'm like, okay, between Halloween and Alien versus Predator, I'm like, they really do knock it out of the park with their houses. And even back then that was 2014, and at the
Yeah.
end of the house, at the very end of the house, guests had to get down and crawl out. They don't do that anymore, times have changed, bigger bigger attendance here, but at the end of the Alien versus Predator house, guests had to get down on the floor and crawl out, and there were alien puppets on the side that were coming, and it was like strobe lights. Yeah. So like then there was an exit on the side that if they couldn't go through, like down, like if they were in a wheelchair or something or they couldn't get down, they could do an alternate exit. But that whole crawling through, and like after doing the Halloween house, I was kind of like, wow, the Universal is something else that I was missing out on that I didn't realize.
No, that's incredible. I've never heard of somebody having to crawl. Like I that would terrify me because if you're on your feet, you can run, you can get away
Yeah.
quickly if you need to. But crawling out, that would absolutely terrify me. But that yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother level. I mean, it's really like something you can't even imagine, getting into it.
Yeah.
So not your carnival haunted house for sure. And now there's a
Yeah,
huge
right.
following nowadays. Like people like it's a destination.
Yes, and it's so crazy because I'm just thinking all these years, after that, I kind of went casually while I worked there, and now over the time, it's like it's become, almost an obsession. It's like the thing we look forward to every year. We speculate on what's coming. And, the scare zones, even if you don't do houses, like the scare zones are great.
Yes, but I would have that pass that says, "Hey, don't scare me." Walk right
Oh
past
yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
they
totally
did
pay
that.
for that.
Yeah, well, this was the first year they did it. Last year was the first year they've ever done that. I was shocked myself, but because
Well, you kind
I'm
of know
like,
what
it's
you're
pretty
getting
scary.
into. I mean, you pay for it,
Yeah,
you're like, "I know what I'm getting into," but I'm the kind of person, like, I want everyone else around me to be scared, but I'll just watch that. I don't wanna be
yeah,
scared
yeah. I get
myself.
it. Yeah, I get that.
So you did that at Halloween Horror Nights. Were you like, "Okay, this is where I need to be. This is I'm gonna do a more permanent position, ask for, apply for a full-time position?"
Well, they end up telling you like when you are like seasonal with that position, they say they could keep you on, like they could offer you a job afterwards, like so there's a potential of like a part-time job afterwards. And so
That's
just
good.
based on your performance basically, and usually they give people the part-time job afterwards as long as they don't mess up too much. But we were a really great team, so everybody I think got somewhere. But they had asked people, where would you like to go? And so many
Oh.
people were like, Wizarding World, Wizarding World.
Oh, of
Everybody kind
course.
of had their, yeah, and everyone kind of had their favorite thing, and Wizarding World was still like fresh and new, and like so
Yes.
people were like, that's the hype thing. I, again, had not been to the park as a guest, so I didn't really know. I thought, I don't
Right.
know where I want to go. So I was just like, wherever you put me. And I remember the day that they
Oh.
were handing out the envelopes of where to go. And I opened mine like in front, my supervisor gave it to me, and I opened it in front of him, and I look at it, and it's just like the High in the Sky Seuss trolley train ride in Seuss Landing. And I'm just like, oh,
Yay.
yeah, and he, like, looked so excited, and my face was kinda like this, and I'm like, "Oh, because he's the supervisor over there." So it was yeah, so he was, like, excited to be like, "Aren't you excited to come to my venue? Like, I picked
Yes.
you," like, and it was like,
Of course he did.
yeah, I don't know what this is. So then I started asking people. Yeah, I was like, what is this? And because I'm just like Seuss Landing, I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm trying to picture in my head what this is. Like, all I've got is this burned image of Krusty Land. So I'm like, what could be over there? What could be over there? So everyone's like, it's the people mover. It's the people mover from
Yes.
Disney. I'm like,
Yes,
like,
totally.
"Oh, no, the people mover, what?" So, and I went home. Yeah, I actually Googled what the wardrobe, the costume was, because I don't know
Right.
if I mentioned it in the previous video about Disney, how all I wanted was a good costume, and I had, like, the most boring costume at Fantasmic. It's just like my
Yeah.
roommates used to be like, "You look like you're selling Disney insurance or something in this little button-up jacket," like, yeah, so all I wanted was a cool costume, and all my roommates had cool costumes. So when I saw the overalls, I was like, "All right, okay, I could do this. I could
I
rock
think
these
those are cute.
overalls."
Yes,
Yeah,
that's very cute.
yeah. So then I
Well,
was a little bit
we love
excited.
Dr. Seuss over here, so I'm
Oh,
glad I'm
nice.
glad that you had that experience. But I
Yes.
mean, then you're dealing with a whole nother because that's where we kind of hang out. At least I do with my younger ones when we go. And the older ones they'll go ride Velocicoaster or whatever and come back and get us. We've been doing the carousel like I don't know 50
Oh,
times. You know,
I love that.
Cat in the Hat. So, is there something about that area that really stood out to you? Were you happy to interact with the kids? Because Halloween Horror Nights, you're not seeing too many children.
Yeah, yeah, right. And I used to be a teacher, so it was kind of exciting because it's like I remember when worked in first grade that we learned green eggs and ham only has 50 words that are used over and over, and Dr. Seuss wrote it on a dare. So it was kind of like already like with working in schools, Dr. Seuss is cool to me. So I'm like, okay, I can
Yes.
embrace this. And everyone also, again, when I was asking people like, is this a good spot to be? Because I didn't know, am I going into something boring or good or, whatever? And everyone's like, no, you're going to love it. And everyone goes, they got the hula days. And in my mind, I'm
Yes.
like thinking, but I'm in my mind because I don't know. I'm thinking hula days, like HULA, like
Oh, like hula.
Hawaiian hula. I'm like, I don't know what the hula days are, whatever. No, it's hula days. Okay, I got it. So Christmas in Seuss Landing is amazing.
Love
But
it.
I will say when I worked there, the height requirement for Sky Trolley was 40 inches, which is pretty tall. It's
That's
like
tall.
34 now. Yeah.
Yes.
But we used to have to turn away a lot of kids, so it used to be kind of
Oh,
be, yeah.
no.
Yeah, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, the kids." I'm like, "Oh, the adults." Really, I'm kind of like more like, "Hey, adults, you want to ride this?" Because the little ones can't. Like that was the heartbreaking thing. People would park the stroller and they'd start walking over
Yes.
with a little one, and I'm like, "No, don't come over here. I gotta tell you no."
Is it because it's elevated? Is that why it was so high at one point?
Yeah, so when I worked there, the lap bars were different. They were straight across. And then
Oh,
the idea is that someone could get out of the lap bar if they were small. Their legs, don't go over the
okay.
edge, things like that. So when, like, at the time that I was leaving and transferring over to Fast and Furious, they were changing the lap bars. And one train had the lap bars, and now they have those lap bars, and they're kind of like
Come
curved,
down.
and they kind
Yes,
of hold, they're more form fitting to your lap, I guess, so less ability to get out for smaller ones, so then it brought the
for
height
sure.
down. So
I
so I was
I
like, yeah, of course I leave and now the children can ride. When I was there, I got to break
thanks a
hearts
lot.
all day. Yeah.
Well, you're so sweet, like, you have such a bubbly personality, you're probably smiling, "I'm sorry, little kid,
Yeah,
I'm sorry you're crying."
yeah.
But yes, the one thing I will say about Universal versus Disney even, but I don't know about, SeaWorld, you can tell me that. I feel like the restraints are, like, overkill, on a lot of rides, like Gringotts, they're like, squeezing you in down here, squeezing you in up here, and you're not even
Yeah.
doing any kind of inversion, so, I don't know. I just feel like it's like, they're overkill with that, but it's a good thing. I mean, it is a safety issue, obviously.
Yeah, and actually the manufacturers of the rides are the one that set the height requirements and all that stuff. So
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, so it's like it's not even Universal saying it, it's the ride manufacturer. So like when the manufacturer makes new lap bar, the height requirement changes by them, not Universal.
Mhm.
So that was always the thing because I'm like, it's not me, it's not Universal. I'm like, I try to put it
Blame this
off
other
on someone
company.
else, like the manufacturer. They blame them. Go write a letter to them. you know.
No, that's a great point because I also feel like when you're the forward-facing employee, people are going to complain to you, and you're just like, "I'm a teenager, I'm sorry, I don't have any power here." You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I just
What else
work
are you
here,
gonna do?
lady.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah.
that is it's a fun I love the hula days, you're absolutely right. We were there, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, and, it's such a fun area to just walk, even just to sit and watch because the Who's walk around in all of their garb, dressed up. And did they have the, Grinch musical there when you were working there at Christmas?
They did, but it was not the hyped up thing it is now.
It is now.
And yeah, because way back in the day, it used to be on the little outdoor stage, kind of, I think, tucked
That's
behind Cat in the
right.
Hat. And then
Yes,
when
I
I
remember
went,
seeing it
it was
there.
yeah, and then when I went, it was some bleacher seats in one of the
Okay.
little sound stages because some of my friends, because I worked in Seuss Landing, so a lot of people knew people, so they were like, "You got to
Mhm.
come see this. We got VIP seating at the front, and the dog's going to be right there." And I'm like, "Okay,
Yes,
dog,
the
I'm
dog.
here." Yeah, so yeah, so but
Oh,
those bleacher seats were not very comfortable, and now it is in the Blue Man Group Theater.
yes.
So I mean, comfort, indoors, great.
Oh, it's so
Oh,
nice.
it's grown so much, but also the Grinch wait time has grown so much because when I was,
Yes.
a team member there, he used to just be hanging out like alone, standing there. I've got pictures of me just him with a blue screen hanging out there, like, yeah, I'm all alone. And I'm like, now it's like 3 hours, 5 hours, people paying to meet him. I'm like, oh yeah,
Minimum.
I
Yes.
was
I mean,
spoiled.
that's
I
what I
didn't even
said.
know it.
I would with all of my crew because we have so many, and I'm like, I would have to pay for that. I think it's Christmas cookies and then something else, and then you get to meet the Grinch. Like, there's
Yeah.
no that's like one of those upgrades that is like very you have to because 3 hours in the hot sun, and it's not a shaded queue either, I don't think.
No, exactly. That's the other thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's right out in the sun. Oh, there's no.
Mhm.
Oh goodness, yeah. I know. I'm like, I'll see him. I'll see him at a distance. I'll watch the videos.
Yes, but it is it's a wonderful. I love how each and the Islands of Adventure, I mean, Universal, the studios part does this too. But they decorate within the area. So the Who's area, I think, is the most festive and the cutest decorations. It's almost like going to Disney and seeing the different hotels have the different decorations, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Seuss Landing, I think, is the best for Christmas. You know, again,
For sure.
USF, they do their Christmas stuff, the parades there, all that. But I really feel like Grinchmas and the Who's and just the music changes during the season. The Christmas decorations are
Yes.
beautiful. The lights, it's just and working it was just amazing because they had the breakfast back then and people would come right over to Trolley in the morning. So we were there early and everyone's in a good mood. And it was always busy during Christmas season because they're all at Grinchmas. And so it was like I
Right.
loved, it was like we were the popular attraction during the
The
holidays,
popular kids.
Yeah, yeah, we were cool.
So what made you decide to go over to Fast and the Furious? Because that's the other part too.
Yeah, actually, I ended up becoming a trainer at Sky Trolley, and I had wanted to go over to Kong, and I interviewed for Kong,
Oh.
and I went over to that interview, and I said, I like to bring an icebreaker or something. And I said, I thought King Kong was going to be here. And I pulled bananas out of my bag. And like I
Ah,
got past the first interview.
you
Yeah,
did
they were like, oh,
not.
yeah, I was like, I was trying to theme the interview. So I brought bananas and they were like super into it.
That's
And then
awesome.
at the second interview, she asked me a question and my, she didn't, her reaction to my response threw me off and I just blanked and I bombed that
Oh.
interview. So I kind of was like kind of sad about that because I was like I was so happy at Sky Trolley and I finally was trying to like go somewhere new and just like kind of like expand somewhere else and I botched it. So when
Oh.
the interview for Fast and Furious came up, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to this interview and I don't even care if I get it. I'm just going to go, like maybe just an experience or like whatever, just practice for whatever. So I went in not caring and right before I went to the interview, one of my friends said to me, "Oh, it's funny that they're replacing the attraction with another attraction featuring The Rock." And so I started thinking about it. Yeah. And so as I was walking to this interview, I picked up a rock off the ground and I put the rock in my pocket. And I went into the interview and I said basically, I like to bring an icebreaker and everyone was asking me what I was going to take to this interview. And I said, Vin Diesel couldn't make it on such short notice. So I brought the rock and I pulled the rock out of my pocket and I put it on the desk in front of him and he just kind of like looked at me and like it was just this little like weird little smile and then then it ended with like, well, you can have any colored steel-toed shoes you want. And so it was like I got the job, and I was like, man, I didn't even want that job. I was totally happy at Sky Trolley. Like I just and I'm like, man, like I bought the Kong one with the bananas and I'm like, oh, I thought the rock was gonna be, and I
Super
went and I
cheesy.
went and yeah, and I went and everyone was like, I told them I pulled the rock out of my pocket and they're like, who did your interview? And I told them and everyone's face was like, did he laugh? And I'm like, no. They're like, yeah, he doesn't laugh at anything. He doesn't think anything's funny. So it's like, I hope he's not watching. I don't know where he is now, but,
No,
but
that's great. I mean, I think it's like total dad humor, right? Like, it's like,
yeah,
here's the rock. He probably
yeah,
thought that was great. I love that.
yeah,
So, if you had gotten the Kong, so were you talking about Kong Skull Island? Is that the ride you were trying
yes.
to get? Okay, so they have scare actor, or they used to, they had scare actors in the queue. I had no idea, but you would think because you were at Halloween Horror Nights that this would have been a perfect fit for you.
That's how I botched the interview because
No.
yes, because the second lady said, "Do you have any questions before we start?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I heard there's going to be scare actors in the queue. Is that going to be attractions team members, or is that like a separate hiring thing? And she's like, that's not approved information. I don't know who told you that. And I was just like,
Oh,
uh,
no.
uh, oh,
Oh, they were
oh,
keeping it under
yeah,
wraps. Yeah, they didn't
yeah.
want it to get out.
So when
Oh,
she's like, "Tell me
man.
a time at your venue you did XYZ," and I was just like, I just in my head I kept thinking, who did I just get in trouble that I said that about the scare
Yes,
actors? Because that's like not information,
exactly.
I'm like, so I
Mhm.
because I
Oops.
whatever. So yeah, so that's why again, like, but I had wanted that job, and when I botched that part, that was so yeah. So back to the scare actors in the queue. They used to have scare actors in the queue.
Mhm.
That is
Yeah, and
now
I did
approved
not know.
information.
Well, nobody told me either when I went on the actual ride, and my husband and I
Oh,
were walking through, and I start hearing people scream up ahead of us, and I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" And then I start to see, because he would actually jump out. He wouldn't come out full body, but like his torso would come out enough to touch some people on the shoulder or pull on their purse a little bit. And I was like, I don't like this. I told you I'm the one that doesn't. I don't want to be scared. So I
yes.
made my husband a human shield, and I just walked through because they were. You didn't know where he was coming. He could go on left. He could go to the right on the part of the queue. The same queue. It was scary. Yes, there he is. It
Yes,
was a scary,
yes.
but it added something. So the last time we went, they have stopped that. So it was a little. I was like hyping people up. I'm like, now just remember, you might see some things that you're not ready to see or something. And then they're like, what's around? Like, there's nobody here.
Yeah.
Never mind. Uh, so
Yeah.
you got over to Fast and the Furious. They absolutely loved you and your cheesy humor. I love it. That's great.
Yes.
So what did you do when you, because the ride was new, you opened the entire attraction. So what was your part?
Yeah, so when I first got pulled over, it was for commissioning,
Okay.
and that is where they are building the attraction still. So I had a hard hat. So I
Oh,
had the
that's
yes. So we
awesome.
had so we had the little stickers for the project number for Fast and Furious, and then I had my Spice Girl sticker. And my Fast and Furious sticker here, and then attractions operations here on the back.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so when I started, it was basically just sitting there making sure nobody walked where they weren't supposed to walk, just
Mhm.
uh, kind of just waiting for the attraction to start operating. And then you go through the testing stuff. So just things like
Mm.
you're watching the vehicle and you're holding like an e-stop if the vehicle was to do something you needed to stop. You're just basically watching, and it's
Okay.
a 24-hour construction site. And so
Mm.
we would work, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. shifts, and we would be up in the
Goodness.
catwalks, and we would just it was just we were family forever for sure, but
I was gonna say, you get to know people
yeah,
really. I mean, those 12-hour shifts, that's a long time, especially overnight
yeah,
shifts like that.
yeah, because everyone on the radio would be like, Annie, are you okay? And so on our like on our opening team sign, I wrote, Annie Wilson, yes, I'm okay.
That's
Yeah,
great.
so yeah, but
So
it was a good time.
after you did the commissioning and everything, that opened the right attraction opened, were you again part of the crew? Were you a forward facing member? What was your job there?
So we before it opened, they started having they have you been on Fast and Furious?
Yes, once.
Okay,
I don't like
okay. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Yeah, no, it's fine. Many people I only saw once, and I'm like, oh, my friends, at least they visit me at Sky Trolley, not there. But there were two. Yeah, yeah, there were two pre-shows, and there were two characters. First one is Pat, and second one is Jamie.
Mhm.
And they kind of, obviously in the beginning they have certain plans, and then plans always change. So it went from being like an entertainment role to attractions doing it. So it was going to be a spieling role, and a lot of people were dying for spieling roles to come back at attractions
Yes.
because they like that interactive element with people and stuff. So they had basically everyone start. doing the spiel, and they kind of tested everyone who wanted to do it, and then they narrowed it down to their top picks of doing it. And then so I was mainly doing the spieling Pat and Jamie, but we were in a rotation with also like the attractions operations side. But you did have to be approved by creative and spiel trained to do the roles. So I played the Pat and Jamie characters, and that was my favorite thing. Like I loved this. It was super cheesy. I know people hated it, but it was like I got to own this character. And because we
Mhm.
were the first ones, we kind of got to craft the type of character that these
Yes.
they were gonna be. And so like I was Pat, so I mine was like they call me Pat. It's PAT, perfect and talented. Like I don't know. I just like dumb little things you could say because you know
Mhm.
just we were able to make the character, and we weren't, but that's also tough because you don't have some other role that you've watched and you go, okay, I can make it my own. I
True.
follow their humor, but everybody kind of
Mhm.
made it their own. And I love that we all just picked up on different things from each other. And um there was, there became somebody, I don't even know who it was. There was a line that said like all the faces on these walls are our family, and somebody was like, except for mine. And so like then we all started saying that, so like we all took little bits of like humor. And just, it was just fun to create these characters, Pat and Jamie. And Jamie is in the war room, and it's supposed to be like Jamie's first day. Tej is,
Yes.
working, and and stuff. So we interacted with a like a screen, the dialogue with the
Mhm.
screen. So it had to be timed right and funny, and also interactive
Exactly.
with the guests, because when they're coming in, you're kind of talking to them and getting them. You're supposed to be getting them hyped for the ride that they're about to go on. I'm like, oh, see you later. No, I won't.
No, I won't.
Yeah,
That's too
gonna
bad.
have a great
No, I think
time.
those interactive elements like you're talking about, like we think great movie ride that used to be over at MGM Studios, that's what
Mhm.
brings it to life to me. Like otherwise you're just sitting in a dark ride, you're watching a screen or you're looking at some animatronics, which is fine, but I feel like that movie magic, that's what you're doing, is you're creating that movie magic. And when we talked to Ron earlier in a few episodes ago, he was at Earthquake, and he would do kind of a similar thing. He got to spiel there, and eventually that closed too. So I don't know why they're getting away from that nowadays. I wish that they would bring some more of that back. I think that's what they're missing in the parks, just in general
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's so many people that want those kind of roles,
Yes.
Jaws. I mean, even like Kilimanjaro safaris, there's just so many roles that are spieling, and that makes the ability to go again and again because it's kind of different. You're going to get
Different.
a different person
Mhm.
with a little different, take on things. And like I would say, it's not like this is going to turn into a disaster because they closed that one. And again, because
That's right.
the ride was disaster and they closed it. So like I would say that in my spiel as Jamie when people were leaving, and like if they got it or not. But I think it's that little personal thing that, if someone catches that little joke and they laugh, but it's
Yes.
unique to each person and each experience, and it does feel
Absolutely.
better, than just watching a screen, because they could go in there and just watch these characters on a screen. But
Yes.
I think the real person makes it, fun.
Oh, 100%. Think of Jungle Cruise. Like, you get a really good jungle skipper. I mean, they're saying the same lines. Everybody kind of has the same thing, but then they do go off script. They're able to ad lib a little bit. And there's this one guy, he was very dry. And I just remember it was hilarious. The delivery, he added some of his own little jokes in there. And at the end, I honestly tried to tip him. I tried to walk up and tip it.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm sorry, ma'am, we can't take tips. But that is why, because it brings that element, that extra, human touch to things. It's hilarious. I love that you got to originate that. Did you have to do any improv classes?
No, but they did have us do it a lot in front of creative and different ways.
Okay.
And so we were definitely watched really closely in the beginning, but then after, after it became what it was known for as not the most popular attraction. It was like, yeah, we can just say whatever now. Nobody's because like
Nobody's gonna
even
notice.
during yeah, during HHN, the screen in the war room is all staticky and stuff, and I would face it, and I'd be like, "They're here!" Like poltergeist version, I don't
That's
know, and
great.
like
I
nobody
love
ever got
that.
it. I'm just like, okay, that's let it go at this point.
I
It's
would have laughed. If I had heard you, I would have laughed. I think but I think you look great for the part too. Like, if we can go back to one of your pictures there, the uniform,
Ah,
everything you're talking about, having a cool uniform. You look great. That look like you
thank
look like you
you.
were made that was made for that role. I love it. Did
You know what
was there
I
something that you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna no, I was gonna say, I love that Fast and Furious, they had different costumes. So if you ever look at the people working there, there's all different
Oh,
mix and match pieces. So everybody's a little different, but kind of the same. So there's like a leather jacket, there's a red jacket, there's like different there's flannels, there's different like a mechanic type of like button up. There's all
okay.
different pieces of wardrobe that you can pick. And like I just picked the green. I like the cargo pants because I had the headset and stuff for so and I like the gray over the black. I don't know. I just that was just the one I picked, but I did love the leather coat. It just never got cold enough to wear the leather coat. It was cute though. But yeah, but
Absolutely.
I it's one of the few venues there's very few venues that have like multiple options. The only other venue I can think of off the top of my head with two is Kong, where there is like a there's like a brown colored outfit, and then there's like a blue and gray with a little red neck thing.
Oh.
So
Well, what
yeah.
since you worked there so many years, I mean, literally 5 years, you've gone through so many different outfits. What was your favorite costume to put to use?
I honestly, I gotta say, I think that Kong one you just showed there, I love that one. I think I made
Was
that my
it?
profile picture. Yeah, I don't know. It was just, I don't know if it was the red hair made it look so good, but
Yes.
when you work at Universal, you can rescue to other venues. So basically,
Oh,
if they have call-ins at some other venue and they need people to fill in, and let's say Sky Trolley has so many people, what happens is they'll call out over the radio and say they've got extras, and another venue can say, I'll take one of those extras. So what they do is, they
that's
kind of
cool.
have a rotation process of who's an extra on the board. And I always wanted to go somewhere else because I just wanted to experience what other places were like. And I worked at the Hogwarts
Sure.
Express. I worked at Gringotts. I worked at ET. I think ET might have been my favorite rescue because we got to type the names in. For the cards. Yeah.
Okay, I remember that. I the last time we went, they weren't doing it anymore, but I remember that. It was so much fun because we would get off and honestly, when we were at ET, I mean, let's be honest, there's not a lot of people that, go over there too much anymore. Unfortunately, because it's like I think the only original attraction left, and we
Yeah.
would just get off and get back on. We just get off and get back on, and it was so much fun. And every time we would go, we'd tell them a different name, like my name's Bob, or
Yes.
whatever. And at the end.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
got to type in the names. Did you ever have a misspelling where it said something
Oh,
completely wrong?
yeah, because I had a family come back and they demanded a reride because I think it said Anna instead of Annalisa or something like that. It was just like, oh man. Or, like ET doesn't say their name and they come back. They're like, he didn't say my name. I'm like, well, good luck. You're going to ride 10 times before he does because he's old, man. But I'll type your name in again. Here you go. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Here's a card. By the way, I did not
Oh, you
steal
have
this.
fun.
I found this on the ground at Schwab's pharmacy, and I'm like, well, someone else already did the hard part of stealing, and I guess I'll help myself. So just know.
That's so funny.
Found that at Schwab's.
Oh, I love that. Well, it means something to you. Obviously, didn't mean something to them. So good
Yeah.
on you. Oh, so
Yeah.
you got to do other attractions. What was your favorite? Okay, so I saw that you were at Harry Potter. Were you on the train, or did you get to do one of the attractions within Hogwarts or Hogsmeade? I guess.
So Harry Potter at the time, and maybe still now, you had to be Potter trained and you had to pass a test to work
Oh,
in Wizarding World. So, and I was not going to pass that test for sure. I did not know enough
what?
about Wizarding World. But so when they would call out rescues, like if you had a team member at your venue that was Potter trained, they would say like, "We have two extras and one is Potter trained." Then, Wizarding World could hear that and pick up that person. But there were two times that they were desperate enough they took non-Potter trained people. And I remember we went to Hogwarts Express and I got to do Gringotts one day. And me and the other girl, because they took
Oh.
both of us and they were like, they're not Potter trained. They're like, we're desperate. I think they had a party the night before, and I think a lot of the team members didn't show up. We've had that at Sky Trolley. We've had supervisors in position because we're like, yeah, well, I wasn't popular enough to be invited to your parties, but other people didn't show up.
Exactly.
So,
That's hilarious.
but
Okay,
yeah.
so that is something I'm wondering if Disney did a similar thing with Star Wars Galaxy Edge, right? Because people the fandom of Harry Potter is so in depth and so is Star Wars and there's so much history to it. So I wonder you had to take a test? Did you ever sit for the test or you just like I'm not even going to attempt it?
I didn't even attempt it. I heard people talking because I knew people that worked there, and they'd be like in the I went the village. She'd always be like, oh, and these people in the village, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, I cannot be in. I don't know. She would just be. She worked in merchandise there, and she would be talking about all the craziest things, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. I watched the movies. I still don't know what these things are. I guess you really need to know the books. So,
You'd have to read
but
the books,
yeah.
right?
So I
I
thought,
mean, people,
yeah,
they're
no.
so well, they're so, invested in it. So I could see people walking up and I mean, as an entertainment cast member over at Disney, I would get questions sometimes. And, I got to, give a little quip and that kind of thing. And sometimes Disney prepares you and they're like, no, say this. But then other times they don't. So you get to kind of come back at them. But I bet you get those people walking up to you at Harry Potter, anywhere you are in Harry Potter and asking questions.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to know who Harry Potter is. So, like, to be like, do
Well,
you know
that's
who Harry
true.
Potter is? Like, who's that? I'm like, yeah, I love the book. I don't know. Oh, is that the wrong answer? Oh God, I failed the test already. Great
So
movie,
I'm
Daniel
hearing you say
Radcliffe.
that
I just,
I feel like a lot of times Universal gets a bad rap because, Disney is very obviously IP heavy, very invested in their the lore and the, history of things. And so you have to go through traditions, like you have to know the history of the company over there. I never really thought about working for Universal where you have to take interviews and tests to get onto certain attractions and stuff. This is fascinating to me.
yeah. Yeah. The Wizarding World, that's the one I like, oh no, I couldn't do that. I can go into all the dinosaur lore. I can do Jurassic Park. I know all that. I'm good on that. Like I could work in the Discovery Center. I would have loved the Discovery Center,
Right.
because that's another role that
Oh,
they are
yes.
very interactive, spieling as well there. They've got the dino hatch and they go around with some of the little bones and teeth and things like that. And so those kind of moments. I'm like, I see, I could do that. I could pass the Jurassic test. I don't think there's a Jurassic
Yeah.
test, but, but
There
I
should
could
be,
pass it if
because
there was.
it's a
There
real
might
thing,
be. Yeah, there might be.
and with your history of being an like, early childhood education and everything like that, you would think that they would look at your resume and go, "Yes, we need her over here to interact with the kids and teach them things." Like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Well, tell me,
yeah.
so
Actually,
you
I would have
go ahead.
loved that. I totally should have gone that direction. I went to Fast and Furious. That was the dead end there. Wrong family. Should
Wrong family. Well,
yeah.
you did mention that you were a trainer at one point for Sky Trolley, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I
How
loved it.
how was it training other people?
Oh my gosh, I loved it. I wish I'd actually stayed as a trainer because like you just kind of mentioned with my education background, training is kind of my thing, you know. I'm like, I want to be able to get you to understand and you know, teach you how to be, you know, not only just send the trains, but also how to deliver the best guest service here at Sky Trolley and everything like that. And so I that was really something that I had always wanted to do, was trainer. And when I got, you know, when I, you know, it's kind of prestigious to be on an opening team of an attraction. So I left Sky Trolley
Yes.
for Fast and Furious, but I really think I would have loved staying as a trainer. And I think I would have maybe even stayed at Universal forever if I'd stayed a trainer. I don't know, but but
Oh,
yeah, the training was so good because you get to see people, you know, even years later, like when I came back doing the blogging thing, I saw people I trained there, and they're not at Sky
no
Trolley anymore. They're
way.
at another venue. But yeah, but I'm like, and he was like, she trained me, and I'm like, oh, I see. Yeah,
Oh,
there's like I think there's at least three people that I trained that I can think of that are still there that I see that are still at
wow.
Universal. So yeah,
That's
because it's a great
fantastic,
company.
though.
People love staying there. Yeah, and I'm like, they've got their 10-year
Yes.
pins and their 15s, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel old.
No, you're not old, first of all, but what did make you leave? I mean, because you were having such a good experience over there, and I know the hours can be difficult, but what did you say, "Okay, this is the direction I'm going now." What made you say that?
I got a blogging job and I was doing both Universal full time and the blogging thing a little bit. And when I started kind of putting more time into the other job, I sat down with my supervisor, who, awesome guy. He still works for the company, by the way, too. Awesome
Oh,
supervisor. I see him a lot. I sat down with him and I kind of said to him, like, I love the job here. I love Universal. I I have this other opportunity. What do you think I should do, kind of thing?
what should
Like,
I
just
do? Mhm.
yeah. And he said, we love you at Universal. We would take you back in a heartbeat. I think that if an opportunity comes up that's only, you know, once in a lifetime, that you should go do that, because Universal's not going anywhere. We're even going to open a new park down the street. So, you know, you got
Did he
options to
really
come
say
back.
that
So
that early on?
yeah,
That's
yeah. I just
awesome.
so like, you know, I was like, so he was like, Universal's not going anywhere, and we love you so much that if that other thing doesn't work, we'll take you back. Don't, you know.
Take it back.
So it was like, yeah, so it was really nice that it was not, you know, not a, oh no, you should stay here, you know, type of thing. It was like, yeah, go pursue this, and you know, if it doesn't work out, we're here for you, you know, but we want to see you succeed and stuff like that. So it is really great, you know,
Yes.
that I had a supportive supervisors. And that's the thing is, you know, you really need that. It just it makes a big difference because I, you know, obviously now I do the adventuring with Annie and I do my blogging thing full time on my own here. So it's like that crossroads of staying at Fast and Furious as a full time team member. I was hitting 5 years. You know, I was like, I've been here 5 years. Like, do I leave after 5 years? Is a long time
It's a long
to leave
time.
this company. Yeah, and then have someone that's like supportive and say like, you know, this is
Do it.
you
Chase
know,
your dream.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, push, go, do it, live your dream. Fast and Furious, you know, is not your dream, Annie. Go, you know. So
He
yeah,
wasn't like hook hand to Flynn Rider, your dream sucks, like your dream.
yeah, yeah,
No,
right,
you
yeah,
go live
right.
your dream.
Yeah,
I love that. I mean,
yeah, right.
honestly, I mean, you have good people around you, good supportive people. That's what you do that need to flourish. And yes, you're stepping out on a limb. You're going this other direction. It's a little scary, but look at you now. You have that wonderful
Yeah.
channel, and I love. Can I ask, is the logo a little bit of nod to Mary Poppins?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Everyone says that. Yes, 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 yes. I love that.
I mean, I'm partial to it, so that's just what I
Yes,
would say.
yes. It's my little sun hat and my umbrella. I'm the Mary Poppins. Trust me.
Mary
I go where
Poppins,
the wind
y'all.
takes me. Yeah.
Exactly. I love it, Annie. I think that you obviously have great content on your channel. Thank you for coming on to our channel and telling all of your stories and your history. And yes, I could totally see you if you ever wanted to go back to Universal and getting a job there. I love that they left the door open for you, and that's like I said, so supportive.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I had a ton I was a guest service rep. I had tons of guest positives. Like I loved working with guests, and I would love to go back to Universal. I mean, if where I'm at now doesn't work out, Universal's right where I'm running back to because I was so happy
Yeah.
there. You know, I won an iPad for going out of my way for a guest. I
What?
got nominated for an award. Yeah, I got an iPad. I got nominated for a big award like between all the parks. They used to do this thing called the Attractions Operations Award, and
Okay.
they would have people nominate for different categories, and it was across both parks and everything. And then once they pulled out the top names, then they had the vote, the final vote, and I was on the ballot for most likely to go out of their way for a guest. And so I thought,
Wow.
between two different parks, I got nominated. I didn't win, but it was a huge thing at the Hard Rock. They
Huge
rented out the Hard
honor.
Rock, and yeah, and I mean, so just to be nominated and be on the ballot was just amazing. So again, like I really loved my time at Universal. That was like where my career I wanted to go. But
Yes.
so many, you never know what's going to happen. So, but I would definitely
No.
go back to Universal anytime, anytime.
And you're there all the time anyway with all the getting content for your channel too. So
I feel
you're
like I
keeping
work
your
there
connections
now.
open. Exactly.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm like. Yep, I'm putting in my time now. When I need a job, guys. Remember, I was nice to you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And like you said, a lot of the people that you trained and that you worked with are still there. So I
So
mean, 5 years,
many.
that's a long time. But then you've been doing this. How long have you had your channel going? Like 4 or 5 years too, right?
Ooh. I mean, I left Universal 2019, so coming
Oh
on what,
wow.
6 years ago I left.
7 years.
Again,
Yes.
yeah, seven, coming up on 7 years, yeah. And so again, I see so many people that I worked with, and I'm so jealous because I only made it to my Woody pin for 1 year. I never
Oh,
got my
it's
5 year
Woody.
pin. I know. Now it's a minion, but it was
Oh, I
Woody
like
at the
Woody.
time. Yeah. Yeah, and also throwback to how old I am, the name tags used to be the same shape as
Oh,
Disney's. And yeah, nobody
I didn't
remembers
know
that. Then they
that.
then they
No.
changed them to this shape, and then now the different one, now they have the park like icon logos there and stuff
Yes.
on them, but yeah, so
You
old,
gotta frame
but
those.
it's great to see people. But it's great to see people that I worked with still there, and in different places, security, entertainment, hotels, merchandise. I mean, just back of house, I see people that they work in HR and they work in tech base and they work in tech services and stuff, and I see them out in the park. Just it's so great to see that because I cannot say enough nice things about how Universal treats their employees. I mean,
I
it's
think that says
it's
it
great.
all.
So absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
So Annie, you were just showing us there was a couple of things that you have awards and some other things that you have still from your time at Universal.
Yes, the hoarder in me never lets go. So, here was my invite to that the Attractions Operations Award. I even have the save the date pen from
Oh no,
the
you
attractions.
do.
Yeah. That's I know, because again, it's AOA's 2016. I was nominated. I gotta save my hoarder skills here.
That's awesome
But yeah.
though. But that is such
But
an
I,
honor.
yeah, I mean, I just got a couple little things again. It's just, I love my time there, and so I cherish all these little pieces and things like that. It's just
Yes.
memories.
Yes. So in the Disney app, you're able to go in and, do a cast member, nominate a cast member, or do what is it called? It's like an extra uh, star, give a star to a cast member or something like that.
Cast
Because they
compliment.
did something nice. Cast compliment,
Yeah,
thank
cast
you.
compliment.
I don't know
Yeah,
why it
yeah.
left my head. So did they had that kind of thing over at Universal though when you were there?
Yeah, and it was a lot harder to get back then because now with social media, they do UO fist bumps, so you can like hashtag it. And back
Oh.
then, it was really hard to get because you had to actually get someone to go to guest services for you. And I had 16 guest positives, and people at my venue, I think they like I don't know, they would be like, "It's just because 'cause you're memorable, because 'cause you're red hair." I'm like, "No, it's because I really try, like, I do things like these
Oh.
I loved going out of my way for people, making them conductor of the day, just getting them to ride, telling the story of the Sneetches, like, accommodating them to other attractions. We used to be able to give them, like, passes to go express somewhere else, and it was just
Yeah.
like, I just love the guest service part. That was just again what I want to create memories for people. I know in the beginning I
Yes.
said HHN. When I got the job at HHN, it was a job to pay the bills. But by the time, I hit Sky Trolley, it was like this was a passion about guest service, and Sky Trolley allowed us to do that. And so there were a lot of people that were
Yes.
kind of like, "Oh, you get so many guest positives. It's just because it's easy for them to remember how to describe you." I'm kind of like, I don't know if
Nope.
that's quite it, but um, but like, I'm like, I loved guests. That was the whole reason for it, and I think that was another reason I didn't really want to transfer either. Was just Sky Trolley is so slow. Like it's a slower pace. People are waiting for the train. You can
Yes.
chit chat. You talk to them. You ask them things. I made so many memories with guests. I remember so many people telling me different stories and just talking to people, and it created memories for me that I still obviously have so many memories of my time there. So
But that's the whole point. I think that, and you're right. There are people that are just like, okay, this is a job, or I want to get, a discount on tickets to be able to get into the parks anytime I want, or something. There's a secondary gain there. But for the majority of people, for myself included, when you get a job at Disney or Universal, somewhere in the theme parks, you are creating the magic, which is why we have this
yes,
show to talk about that. But that is a true thing. That's
yes.
really what you is at the core, that you're trying to create happy memories for folks because you had them you growing up. Maybe not you at Universal, but you, you
No,
at
but
Disney,
yeah. Yeah, you just a little kid that it's their first ride or they're scared and you
Mhm.
talk them, I remember one time I had a family that I had given them express over to Forbidden Journey because at the time it didn't take express. They had used the express to come on
Wow.
Sky Trolley. I had actually had them I miscounted on the train and I didn't get them on the train. So I was like, how about I put you front row? And have you been on Forbidden Journey? Because you're all dressed up like wizards, and they're like, no, we have that's the only one that doesn't take express. And I'm like, well, I can get you express over there. So I made a little magic for them, and I thought I ran into them actually in the park the next day, and they said, oh, we left a compliment for you at guest services. So I tell my
Oh,
supervisor, oh, I said, oh, this family, I said, I ran into them. They recognized me in the park. They said they're going to leave a compliment for me. I'm probably going to get a guest compliment here soon. And so, like a day or two later, he calls me in and he goes, well, you got a guest compliment, but I don't think it's the one you thought. And it was about a little girl that was scared to ride, how she was like really anxious. And the mom said, oh, Annie got down on her level, told her the story of the Sneetches, explained the rides, said if she liked it, she could ride again, made her conductor of the day, put her in the front row, gave her express over to Cat in the Hat. Like, I mean, and so this was another guest positive I got. And then the following day, I got the one for the people from the Wizarding World. So it was like two in a row, 2 days in a row. Like it was like, oh,
that's
I was on my
awesome.
game back then. I was on my game back then, you know, but you never
No, that's just
know
what you're
what,
doing is you're creating the family memories, happy memories, some make somebody's
yes.
life a little bit easier because when kids are little and they're scared and their parents, they're freaking out because there's people behind you going, "Come on, like we want to ride too." And so they don't want to make, a big scene or anything. So your helping out was a big deal for them. Absolutely. And it also just says goes to show like you really do need to compliment the cast, compliment the team member, you know, make if somebody goes
Yes.
out of their way to make a good job or do a good job for you, make your day a little easier. Go ahead and send them that compliment with guest
Yeah.
services. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, they get recognized. I don't know how it is now, but at the time when we got a guest compliment, we got a applause dollar. Which again, my hoarder self, I have one I never used. I should have
You had
used.
one.
This was, yeah, this was worth $5. So I could have used this
Nice.
to buy lunch in the cafeteria. You could save these up and trade them in for gas cards or like Publix gift cards or things like that. So leaving the
Oh,
compliment, it's like, oh, you paid for my lunch too, I got $5, so I got lunch today, so thank you. Yeah, so
that
you're not only,
I had no
and it looks
idea.
good for them. Yeah, so I don't know if it's the same way now. I
Right.
hope it is. I hope they still do the same thing, but I do know that they have a system where you can award points to each other through the app now or something. Because back in my day, we had paper where if you liked what someone did that you worked with, you could give them one of these. So back in the day, we could write these for other team members, and I think there's a
Oh, how
system now where they
nice.
can do this. But when you got five of these, you could trade it in for the $5 applause dollar. So it's like give your fellow team members these, and we just, and then our supervisors and stuff, if we had like a perfect hour or we did like something really good, they would give this to us. They saw us going out of our way, they'd give them to us, so we would accumulate those. So recognizing team members looks good not only on their record, because for me, I have all these guest positives, so even when I go back to Universal, they'll pull it up and be like, oh look, she had all these nice things.
She
But
was really
they
good.
also get, yeah, but they also get a little extra towards their lunch and gas and stuff for work, so
I love that. I absolutely love that. I don't remember that being a thing at Disney. Was that a thing at Disney?
not
No?
that I know, but I don't think I got a guest positive over there.
No, I love that. And did so I know at Disney there was that like a cast they would do cast parties and things like this, you know, to kind of help celebrate Christmas and things like that. But then you also had a cast member only store that you could go and get the merchandise that maybe, you know, didn't sell or whatever, they would put it back there. Do they have that kind of thing with Universal too?
Well, they they have things, but it's not the same. Back in my day, we used to have lost and found sales where they had a warehouse
Oh,
full of all the lost and found items and they would sell them. So there'd be radios and coolers and wands and sunglasses and random things. Then they started doing the garage sales. And then the popularity of the garage sales has kind of become too much. They do have a store that they can buy discounted merchandise, but it's not the level of Disney's. We'll put it that way.
okay.
Because I've been to the one at Disney. I'm like, Disney's is nice. That is the one real perk over there. I
It's a big
like.
deal.
Give me all the broken stuff. I'll glue it. It's fine.
Exactly. Well, you have a lot of things. I mean, I see in your background there, in your shelves, and then on the floor, you have a lot of. Is that from the actual attraction over there, or is that something that you bought, you know, after the fact?
So yeah, that's from the actual attraction. I did have to buy it
Oh,
though.
that's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, they used to have the Williams of Hollywood prop shop. And
Mhm.
now all the Universal props seem to go out to the Lakeland Antique Mall, but back when they had them in the
Oh,
Williams of Hollywood prop shop, you could purchase stuff from the attraction. So I, of course, wanted the Fast and Furious thing. I think they charged me $75 for it. I tried to get it for 50. I was like, come on, who even wants that but me? And they're like, nope, 75. I paid it though. So,
wouldn't
you
give a deal.
know,
Would they take your applause
yeah.
dollar?
No, yeah, I know. I should see if this is still good. It's dated 2017.
That's so funny. Oh, well, goodness, Annie, thank you so much for being here again. We always enjoy having
Yeah.
you here, and we love having you on the pack as well. Come, you know, watch us on the Sunday show when Annie's on. It's always a good time. But thank you guys for joining us again for another episode of Castaways. We have a great lineup coming up on our channel, and please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys. And until the next time, keep making magic.